The evening air felt heavy as I sat across from Tomas at our small dining table. The soft glow of the candles illuminated his face, but even the flickering flames could not dispel the unsettling emptiness swirling inside me. I smiled at him, attempting to mask the void that gnawed at my heart. "What do you want to do tonight?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Maybe a movie? Or we could just relax here," he replied, his eyes filled with warmth. But his words felt hollow. I nodded, but my mind drifted. I glanced out of the window, watching the world pass by, wondering if anyone else felt this same emptiness. Did Tomas sense it too? As we settled into the routine of our evening, I couldn't shake the feeling that something vital was missing. Later that week, I found myself at a local cafe, seeking solace in a steaming cup of coffee. The familiar scent of roasted beans filled the space, but my thoughts remained restless. It was then that I noticed him. Alex. He sat at a table across from mine, his laughter ringing out like music. I couldn't help but stare. There was something about him that pulled at me. Our eyes met, and time seemed to freeze. "Hi," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "Hi," I managed to reply, my heart racing. We exchanged small talk, but every word felt charged with an energy I hadn't felt in years. "What brings you here?" he asked, leaning closer. "Just needed a break," I said, avoiding the truth that I was running from my own feelings. A spark ignited between us, and for the first time in a long while, I felt breathless. The thrill of our unexpected connection was intoxicating. I could hardly focus on the mundane details of my life. Tomas, our routine, the emptiness. It all faded into the background. That evening, I returned home, my mind racing. Tomas greeted me with a kiss, but I felt distant, lost in thoughts of Alex. "You seem a bit off tonight," he remarked, concern creasing his brow. "I'm fine," I replied too quickly, forcing a smile. But the truth was, I was anything but fine. As the days passed, the tension inside me grew. I found myself daydreaming about Alex, imagining the thrill of his laughter and the way his eyes sparkled when he spoke. I felt guilty for these thoughts, but I couldn't help it. The allure of his presence began to cloud my judgment about my marriage. One afternoon, I walked past the cafe again, hoping to catch a glimpse of him. And there he was, sitting at the same table, a smile lighting up his face when he saw me. "Ilara," he called, waving me over. "Hey," I responded, feeling a rush of excitement. We talked for hours, losing track of time as he shared stories about his life. Each laugh, each glance, pulled me deeper into something I couldn't fully understand. "You have this spark," he said, looking directly into my eyes. "It's refreshing." "Do I?" I asked, surprised. I had almost forgotten what it felt like to be seen like that. "Definitely," he replied, his gaze unwavering. I left the cafe that day feeling electrified, but as I walked to my car, the weight of my reality hit me. What was happening to me? I had Tomas, a good man who loved me. Yet, here I was, drawn to a stranger who made my heart race. As I drove home, I felt the internal conflict brewing within me. The thrill of Alex's presence was intoxicating, but it came with shadows of guilt and confusion. I parked the car, staring at our home, a place filled with memories, yet overshadowed by the growing void I felt inside. Could I really entertain this newfound desire? Or was I just fooling myself? A part of me longed for the safety of my predictable life with Tomas, yet another part craved the excitement Alex brought. I sighed, realizing I was standing at a crossroads, and I had no idea which path I should choose. As days turned into weeks, my connection with Alex deepened. Each stolen moment felt like a secret world where I could escape my reality. We met at quiet cafes, tucked away from prying eyes, where the air was thick with unspoken desires. Every time I saw him, my heart raced, and I could hardly breathe. One afternoon, under the shade of a large oak tree in the park, we sat close together, our fingers brushing against each other. The sun filtered through the leaves, casting playful shadows on our faces. I could feel the warmth radiating from Alex, pulling me closer. "I can't believe how easy it is to talk to you," he said, his voice low and inviting. "You make me feel alive." I smiled, but inside, guilt began to gnaw at me. "It feels wrong, doesn't it?" I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "I mean, I'm married." Alex turned to me, his expression serious. "But does it feel wrong when you're with me? When we're together?" His question hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest. "No," I admitted, my voice trembling. "It doesn't feel wrong at all." With that confession, the thrill of our connection washed over me like a wave, but the guilt followed close behind. I knew I was straying from my commitment to Tomas, but the exhilaration of being with Alex was intoxicating. It felt like a forbidden flame, and I was drawn to it, even as it threatened to consume me. One evening, we met again in the park, the sky painted in hues of orange and purple. The sunset felt like a backdrop for our secret rendezvous. As we talked about our dreams and fears, the world around us faded, leaving just the two of us in that moment. Then, without warning, Alex leaned in and kissed me. It was soft at first, but then it deepened, igniting a fire within me. I kissed him back, losing myself in the sensation. Time stood still, and everything else faded away. I felt alive and free, but as the kiss lingered, a wave of panic washed over me. "What are we doing?" I pulled away, breathless, my heart racing. "I can't keep doing this." Alex looked at me, his eyes searching mine. "Why not? You deserve to feel this way. You deserve to be happy." "But Tomas," I stammered, my mind racing. "He loves me. I can't betray him like this." "Isn't it already betrayal if you're not being true to yourself?" he asked gently. "You're not happy, Alara. You feel it. I can see it in your eyes." His words struck a chord deep within me. I was torn between the safety of my predictable life with Tomas and the intoxicating freedom I experienced with Alex. The thrill of our encounters felt like a drug, but I knew that every high came with a crash. As I walked home that night, the reality of my situation weighed heavily on my heart. I could picture Tomas, waiting for me, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside me. He would ask about my day, and I would smile, hiding the truth behind a mask of normalcy. But how long could I keep up this charade? The next morning, Tomas greeted me with a warm smile. "Good morning, love. Want to go for a walk later?" I nodded, forcing a smile. "Sure, that sounds nice." Inside, though, I was a whirlwind of emotions. I wanted to scream, to tell him everything, but fear held me back. I couldn't bear the thought of hurting him, of tearing apart the life we had built together. Later that day, while I sat at my desk, my mind drifted back to Alex. The memory of his kiss sent shivers down my spine. I was at a critical crossroads, teetering on the edge of a decision that could change everything. The safe path was with Tomas, but the path with Alex was filled with passion and excitement. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows in our living room, I knew I had to confront my feelings. I needed to decide who I wanted to be and what I truly wanted in my life. The choice loomed over me, heavy and daunting. I was caught in the grip of a forbidden flame, and soon I would have to choose which fire to feed. As I lay in bed, the stillness of the night felt heavier than ever. My thoughts raced like wild horses, running through the choices I had made. Each decision I took felt like a stone dropped into a deep well, creating ripples that echoed back to me. I stared at the ceiling, counting the cracks, reminding myself of the life I once believed was perfect. Tomas's steady breathing beside me did little to ease the turmoil inside. I thought of Alex, the way his smile lit up my world, how his laughter felt like music to my ears. But as the thrill of our stolen moments faded, I felt the weight of my actions pressing down on me. "What have I done?" I whispered to the dark room, hoping somehow to find an answer. The next day, as I moved through my routine, the guilt gnawed at me like a hungry animal. I tried to focus on the small tasks, making coffee, folding laundry, but my mind slipped back to Alex's kiss in the park. Every time I closed my eyes, I could feel his lips, warm and inviting, yet the memory now felt like a chain binding me to my secrets. Tomas was unusually quiet during breakfast. I watched him as he poured cereal into a bowl, his brow furrowed with thought. "You seem distant," I said, trying to sound casual. He looked up, his eyes searching mine. "Just tired, I guess," he replied, but I could sense something deeper in his tone. My heart raced. Did he suspect anything? Later that afternoon, I found myself in the living room, pacing like a caged animal. My phone buzzed on the table, and I hesitated before picking it up. It was a message from Alex, a simple, "Thinking of you." My stomach twisted in knots. I typed back quickly, "Me too." The thrill of his words sent a rush through me, but with it came a wave of guilt. That evening, Tomas and I sat together on the couch. The television flickered in front of us, but I hardly paid attention. Instead, I noticed the way his fingers brushed against his temple, a sure sign that he was stressed. I had to know if he was on to me. "Is everything okay?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He sighed, a sound full of unspoken words. "I don't know, Alara. Lately, it feels like you're somewhere else." My heart dropped. "What do you mean?" "You seem distracted. He paused, searching for the right words. "I just want you to know that I'm here if you need to talk." His concern made my heart ache. I wanted to tell him everything, to lay bare the chaos inside me, but the fear of losing him clamped down on my throat. Instead, I nodded, forcing a smile. "I'm just busy with work. You know how it is." He studied me for a moment, and I could see the doubt in his eyes. "Okay, just don't shut me out, all right?" The conversation left me shaken. I couldn't keep lying to him, yet the thought of confessing filled me with dread. What if I lost him? What if my heart broke in ways I couldn't fix? Days passed, and the weight of my secret became unbearable. One evening, I found myself staring out the window, watching the rain trickle down the glass. I thought of Alex and the excitement he brought into my life. But that thought was quickly overshadowed by the image of Tomas, his trusting eyes and gentle smile. Suddenly, in a moment of clarity, I knew I had to confront my choices. I could no longer live this double life. I needed to face the truth. But how could I do that? With a heavy heart, I dialed Alex's number, knowing this would be the last time I could reach out without consequences. "Hey, it's me," I said when he answered, my voice trembling. "Ilara, is everything okay?" His concern was genuine, and it made me feel even worse. "I think we need to talk." "About what?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. "I can't keep doing this. I need to think about my life with Tomas." There was silence on the other end, and I imagined the look on his face. "I understand," he finally said, his voice low, "but I want you to know how I feel about you." "I know, Alex, but I can't keep hurting him. It's not fair." As I hung up, a part of me felt relieved, yet another part mourned the loss of something thrilling. I stood there in the rain-soaked silence, knowing I was at a crossroads, faced with the consequences of my choices. My heart ached for the love I once cherished, and the desire that now felt like a shadow looming over me. The air in our home felt thick with tension. I could sense Tomas watching me, his eyes searching for answers that I was not ready to give. The way he looked at me made my heart race, but not in the way it used to. Now, it felt more like a warning. I knew he had picked up on the little things, the late nights, the texts I tried to hide, the way my laughter had shifted from our shared moments to stolen ones with Alex. One evening, as I was washing the dishes, Tomas leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Ilara," he said, his voice low but steady. "You've been acting strange lately. Is there something you want to tell me?" I froze, the sponge slipping from my fingers and splashing water onto the floor. I turned to face him, my heart pounding. "What do you mean?" I tried to keep my voice calm, but it trembled slightly. "Don't play games with me. You're distant. I can feel it." He stepped closer, his brow furrowed with concern. "Is it work? Is something wrong?" I bit my lip, searching for the right words. "No, it's nothing like that. I'm just tired, I guess." "Just tired?" His voice rose a notch, revealing the frustration that had been building inside him. "Or is there something else? Someone else?" The question hung in the air like a thundercloud, heavy and threatening. I felt my heart drop. I knew the truth behind his words, and there was no way to hide it now. "Tomas, please," I started, but he cut me off. "Just tell me the truth, Ilara." His voice cracked, a mix of anger and desperation. I deserve that much. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on me. "It's complicated," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Complicated?" He shook his head, disbelief written across his face. "Having an affair is complicated? You're breaking my heart, Ilara." The words hit me like a slap. I wanted to deny it, to tell him I was just confused, but I knew that would be a lie. "I didn't mean for this to happen," I said, tears welling in my eyes. "I care about you, I do, but I've felt lost." "Lost," he echoed, his voice rising again. "You're lost because you've chosen to betray me. You've chosen him over us." I could see the hurt in his eyes, and it twisted something deep inside me. "It's not that simple, Tomas," I pleaded. "I didn't plan any of this." "Then what were you thinking?" He stepped back, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "Did our love mean so little to you?" At that moment, I felt the walls closing in. I was trapped, caught between the love I had for Tomas and the thrill I had found with Alex. "I don't know what to say," I admitted, my voice breaking. "I love you, but..." "But what?" he demanded, his expression a mix of anger and sadness. "You love me, but you also love him? You can't have both, Ilara." The truth of his words hit me hard. I felt like I was standing on a precipice, the ground crumbling beneath my feet. I wanted to reach out to him, to reassure him that he was my choice, but the fear of losing everything held me back. "I need time," I finally said, my voice a whisper. "Time?" He laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "You think time is going to fix this? You've already made your choice." I turned away, unable to meet his gaze. The weight of my choices crashed over me like a tidal wave. I felt both guilty and terrified. And for a moment, I thought I might drown in my own emotions. After the argument, I found solace in Alex's arms. But as I lay there, the thrill of our affair began to fade, replaced by a heavy sense of impending doom. I could hear Tomas's words echoing in my mind, and I realized I was no longer the woman who had sought excitement. I was a woman trapped in a lie, and I didn't know how to escape. As the night wore on, I stared at the ceiling, my heart racing. I felt like I was teetering on the edge, unable to find a way back to the life I once knew. The consequences of my desires were closing in, and I had no idea how to break free. Would I continue down this path, or would I find the courage to confront the truth? As I sat on the edge of the bed, The weight of my choices pressed down on me like an anchor, pulling me into the depths of despair. I looked around our room, the familiar sights no longer bringing me comfort. The photographs of Tomas and me smiling at the beach, the little trinkets we collected over the years. They now felt like reminders of a life I was slowly unraveling. My heart ached with the realization that my quest for desire had led me to a profound sense of loss. I took a deep breath and picked up my phone. It felt heavy in my hand, a reminder of the secret I carried, a secret that had brought me both joy and pain. I scrolled through the messages from Alex, each one a spark that ignited the fire within me, but now they felt cold and distant. I needed to confront the reality of my situation. I decided to visit Tomas. As I drove through the familiar streets, my mind raced with what I would say. What could I possibly say to him after everything? I pulled into our driveway and sat there for a moment, my heart pounding. Finally, I stepped out of the car and walked to the front door. Upon entering, I found Tomas in the kitchen, his back turned to me. He was stirring a pot on the stove, a habit he had developed since I had become distant. I cleared my throat, and he turned around, his expression shifting from surprise to concern. "Ilara," he said softly, "I didn't expect you home so soon." "I needed to talk to you," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, and I could see the worry etched on his face. "Okay, let's talk." We sat at the small dining table, the air thick with tension. I felt the need to speak, to unload the burden I had carried for too long. "Tomas, I've been feeling lost. I've made some choices that I regret." He looked at me, his eyes searching mine. "What do you mean? Is this about Alex?" I hesitated, the name hanging in the air like a dark cloud. "Yes. I've been seeing him, and it's been confusing. I thought I was looking for something, but all I found was more pain." Tomas's expression shifted, a mix of hurt and understanding. I could sense something was wrong, but I didn't want to believe it. "I love you, Ilara. I've always loved you, even when things got tough." His words struck me like lightning. I had been so caught up in my own desires that I had forgotten the bond we shared. "I know, and I'm so sorry. I've hurt you." I was searching for a spark, but I realize now that I was just running away from what we have. He took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly. "What do you want, Ilara? Do you want to be with him?" The question hung heavily between us. I thought of Alex, the thrill of our moments together, the way he made me feel alive. But then I thought of Tomas, the man who had stood by me, who had shared his dreams and fears. "I don't want to lose you, Tomas. The passion I felt with Alex cannot replace what we have. I want to try and fix this." Tomas's eyes softened, a glimmer of hope breaking through the clouds of our conversation. "I want that too. But it will take time. We need to be honest with each other." "I agree," I said, my voice steadying. "I want to be open about everything. I need to understand why I strayed." He reached across the table and took my hand. It felt warm and reassuring. "Let's do this together. We can find our way back." As I looked into his eyes, I realized that this was the connection I had been searching for all along. A deep-rooted bond built on trust and love, not just fleeting desire. I felt a sense of clarity washing over me. The storm within me began to subside, and for the first time in a long while, I could see a path forward. With the weight of my choices still heavy in my heart, I knew I was standing at a crossroads. I could choose to safeguard our marriage or pursue the chaotic allure of my affair. But in that moment, I realized that the love I had with Tomas was worth fighting for. It was time to embrace the truth and the possibility of healing. I sat on the edge of my bed, heart racing and mind swirling with thoughts of Alex. The sun poured through the window, casting a warm glow on the room, but all I felt was coldness inside. I realized I had to let him go. I had to confront the truth about my feelings and the choices I had made. True love required honesty and commitment, and I had strayed too far from that path. After a long moment of hesitation, I picked up my phone and sent Alex a message. "We need to talk. Can you meet me at the cafe?" My hands shook as I pressed send. I knew this conversation was going to hurt, but it was necessary. When I arrived at the cafe, the familiar scent of coffee filled the air, but it did little to calm my nerves. I spotted Alex at a corner table, looking as handsome as ever. His smile faded when he saw the look on my face. "Ilara, what's wrong?" he asked, concern shadowing his features. I took a deep breath, fighting back tears. "I can't do this anymore, Alex. I can't keep living a lie. You deserve someone who can give you their whole heart, not someone who is torn between two worlds." His eyes widened in disbelief. "But we have something special. I thought we were happy together." I thought so too. But I can't ignore the reality of my life with Tomas. I owe him more than this. I owe myself more, I replied, my voice trembling. Alex reached across the table, trying to take my hand. "Ilara, please. We can figure this out. We can make it work." I pulled my hand back, feeling a mix of sadness and relief. "No, Alex. It's not fair to either of us. I need to find out who I really am without you in my life." He leaned back, hurt flashing in his eyes. "So this is it? You're just going to walk away?" I nodded, tears spilling down my cheeks. "I have to. I need to focus on my marriage and find a way to heal the damage I've done." The weight of my decision hit me like a wave, but I stood my ground. I knew this was the right choice, even if it broke my heart. We both knew it was over. As I stood up to leave, Alex's voice stopped me. "Ilara, just remember that you will always have a piece of my heart," he said softly. "I know, and I will always treasure what we had," I replied, my voice thick with emotion. I stepped outside, feeling the cool breeze on my face. I took a deep breath, trying to gather my strength. Over the next few days, I focused on myself. I took long walks and spent time reflecting on my desires and the reasons behind my choices. I realized that my search for excitement had led me to neglect the deeper love I shared with Tomas. I needed to heal, not just for myself, but for him too. When I finally mustered the courage to talk to Tomas, my heart raced. We decided to meet at our favorite spot in the park. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, but I felt a heaviness in my chest. "Tomas," I began, my voice shaky. "We need to talk about everything that's been happening." His eyes searched mine, filled with uncertainty. "I know something is wrong, Ilara. I can feel it. Please, just tell me." I took a deep breath, and the words poured out. "I've made mistakes. I let someone else into my heart, and I hurt you in the process. I am so sorry." Tomas looked down, his face pale. I suspected something was off. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I was scared. Scared of losing you. Scared of facing the truth," I admitted. "But I want to fix this. I want us to work through these issues together." He looked up, his eyes softening. "I want that too, Ilara. We can figure this out, but we have to be honest with each other." As we talked, we shared our fears, our dreams, and our needs. It felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I realized that love is not just about passion, but also about understanding and communication. By the end of our conversation, I felt a sense of hope. We both knew it would take time to heal, but we were willing to try. I had finally acknowledged the echoes of desire and betrayal, and I was ready to transform our love into something more authentic and fulfilling. I could see a future where we could rebuild our relationship, stronger than before. Share this story if you believe that love can overcome even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when facing the truth transformed your relationship, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this one.